using the new operator, you can create an array, not just the one single variable. Let's study that. Let's create f5.cpp, f5 function, include there. So in main function, let's call f5, and then let's just say where f5 is. Make a file. Let's add f5.o, and then let's add the rule how to create f5 there, and run it. f5 is called. So in f5, so we can create an array of integer dynamically using new operator and data type. By doing this, you create only one single variable. But if I give a number inside the bracket, then I create an array with the 5 elements. And this new operator always returns an address of the first element in the array. So P should be declared as a int star because P is storing address of the first element, which is integer, like that. So once you have the pointer, now let's initialize a value in each element using for loop. 5 elements there. Then we have learned that if a pointer is initialized to the first element address, then you can use a p as if array name. So I can do like this. Then we will get 10, 11, 12, up to the 14, the values that we will get. So let's make, and then let's use debugger to trace the value. So breakpoint, do I have breakpoint in main function? Let me remove that and then set the breakpoint at the beginning of a function 5. Then start the debugger. So there, and step over, P is holding address of a first element, so star P uninitialized, so we don't know the value yet. Now let's get into the loop. The first iteration, star P is 10. As I move, it's 11, 12 is assigned, but P is address of the first element only, so the debugger does not show the entire array value. So what you could do is let's complete the loop. Then go to the debugger console, and the bottom line you can do this way: P2, then the value 12, P4. P4 is the last one, is 14. P5 it's undefined one. If you try to access P5, which is outside of the range of the array, then you may have a program crash. It depends if that memory is not accessible, but it just happened to be it's accessible, but unknown value, undefined value comes in depending on the memory state. So we can have access to outside this array anyway. Sometimes it's allowed, and this is the very insecure feature of C and C++. You can try to have access outside the array range to read the data outside your program, and then hackers utilize this feature of C or C++ to read some secured area of others. So anyway, that's some side note. So let's stop the debugger. And once we have those value in set, then we can verify the data using for loop. So let's assert pi is a certain value. To use assert, we need to include C assert library first, and then the test data is, let's define an array, integer data, test data is initially just 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is the test data we are using here. So test I should satisfy. So this is expected data out of this initialization. So we check that. Go back to terminal. Here. And the closing parenthesis was missing. So this assertion successfully done. And then let's try to pass this array dynamically created to a function. Of course, when we are done with using the dynamically created variable, you should free the memory. If that is the array, the syntax is delete and then empty square bracket and then address of the first element. So you need to give this square bracket if p is intended for an array. If it's a single value, you don't give a square bracket. That's the difference. Then let's define a function and then let's pass an array. We know that to pass an array, you pass array name, but p is address of a first element, so p is the same as array name, and then size, how many we are going to pass. Then we are going to define function show, and then we get address of the first element and then size of the array, like that. Then before we use a function, we should give a function prototype. That's the function prototype there. So we give a comma. So to display, we can use a for loop. There. Then you can do cout array. We can use as if it's array name, like that. So compile. We have error, duplicated symbol. Show, we have a duplicated symbol. In function 3, I have used the show as well. So it's when putting together here, we have a duplicated symbol. So let's change it to show 2. Show 2. Show 2. There. Then the values are printed. Of course, we don't want to verify visually there. Then we better use assert here. So assert array I is the same as some array. So expected value is this one. So let's make a copy of that and then put into local test array. Then this is how to test using assertion. So these are expected value. And then everything is okay. So here, another emphasis, whenever you use a new, you need to use a complementary delete so that you don't go into memory leakage issue. this is an array, so you need to use a square bracket instead of just delete.